The Virtua Fighter 5 has this Tekken crossover collaboration costume kind of thing. So I thought it'd be fun to go through every character and see how well they did. First up here we have Akira as Kazuya, and it looks pretty good. You know, it looks like Kazuya. He's kind of got a very similar fighting stance. Of course, his fighting style is not the same. You know? Actually, that's not too bad. I'm not good with Akira. I don't know any of his moves. But, you know, Akira is the main character. Kazuya is the main character. I guess they kind of had to go with him. They could have gone with Jin, but as you'll see, they picked a much better person to be Jin. But overall, I would say Akira as Kazuya is not bad. It's pretty good. All right, next up we have Pai-chan as Lily, which is actually a pretty decent pick for her. She does have a lot of, you know, flippy kicky moves, which is kind of Lily style, but, you know, Lily's style is, when she first came out, was called street fighting, which is really weird. I know that's not what it's called now, but obviously Pai-chan does not do street fighting, but her elegant moves, you know, and stuff like that really fit Lily. So, yeah, it looks pretty good. She's a lot shorter than Lily, you know, but that's fine. So I would say Pai as Lily, also very, very good. Okay, here we have Lao-chan as Heihachi, which is perfect. I mean, look at that. It looks good. You know, Lao's the old man, you know, of the game, and his fighting stance is pretty similar, actually, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if we see Heihachi doing backflips and stuff, but that would be really funny. Just like, Kazuya, you fool, do you not know my sick moves? Do you not know my sick backflips? I'll never get over that. There's the image of Heihachi doing a backflip. But yeah, Lao as Heihachi, that was just perfect. Okay, Wolf Hawkfield as Armor King. Well, they had two choices, either King or Armor King. They went with Armor King. Which, of course, works. You know, he's a wrestler, Armor King's a wrestler. You know, they got a bunch of throws and stuff, so it works. There's always, like, wrestler, grappler characters in fighting games, so it was probably a very easy choice of them. I would say the funniest thing about this, though, is Armor King doesn't talk. You know, he just makes growls and stuff like that, so hearing Wolf's voice come out of him when he's, you know, at the beginning and end of the matches and stuff like that, without his mouth moving because he's wearing the mask, is really funny. But yeah, as far as Wolf as a leopard, I guess, it works. It works really well. All right, Jeffrey McWild as Craig Marduk. That was perfect. That was an obvious one. Not only do they kind of look similar, but they have very similar style of gameplay. Just kind of this bully Bruiser with huge attacks and some pretty good, devastating-looking throws. Yeah, I think they actually have very similar movesets a little bit, you know? Like, I swear I've seen Craig Marduk do that kind of throw. So yeah, this was ideal. Very ideal casting, I guess you could say. I do. This is nothing to do with Tekken, but I always found it funny that this type of character, this Bruiser, bullying type powerhouse, his name is Jeffrey. It's just so funny. Okay, Kage as Lars. This is actually kind of a weird one. Probably the first one, I would say, is a bit of a miss. Obviously, you would think, being the ninja character, he should have been Raven. But the problem is that this was a Tekken 7 collab, and Raven is not in Tekken 7. It's Master Raven. So they had to use somebody else. But I would say there's still a better character, and that would be Yoshimitsu. Like, look at what he's wearing. It looks kind of like Yoshimitsu's armor, you know? And you'd say, oh, Yoshimitsu uses a sword, but you forget, Yoshimitsu can actually put his sword away in a lot of games. So there you go. Just have it like on his back or something, you know? You tell me that this doesn't look like Yoshimitsu a little bit, like his unarmed combat kind of thing? It's almost identical, really. In fact, Yoshimitsu's not part of this collab, which is weird because he's one of the most iconic characters in Tekken, I would say. I guess and also he's wearing a mask, which Lars doesn't wear. So Yoshimitsu, he wears, you know, a mask or helmet, I guess, whatever, depending on his design. So yeah, I would say that should have been the character. Should have been Yoshimitsu. Lars is not that much of a fit for Kage. All right, Sarah as Nina Williams. Now this, of course, is funny because a lot of people say that Tekken basically stole Sarah's whole design for Nina. You know, they're both blonde. They're have similar movesets. Well, I guess not very similar, but in the beginning, it seemed like, you know, it's like it's the same character. You know, it felt like. Oops, into the drink. But yeah, obviously Sarah as Nina was an insanely obvious choice because everyone was making the comparison when Tekken first came out. They're like, oh, this is obviously the Sarah of the franchise. So yeah, ideal casting. All right, Jackie as Paul. Now this was a huge fumble. Like, why isn't he Law? he's clearly supposed to be Law, you know? They both use Jeet Kune Do. You know, they're both going the Hoya kind of thing, you know? It's like, is it because he's American and Paul is American? I don't know. Just it should have been Law. Law's not part of this collaboration. Amazingly, I guess they just wanted Paul for some reason, but it does not fit at all. It's such a huge fumble. He should have been Law. Okay, Shun Di as Lei Wulong. Now it's obvious. Pick is obvious. They're both the drunken kung fu ones, but I'm actually a little bit torn because anyone else feel like that Wong would have been a better pick? Actually, no, they couldn't do Wong. Wong wasn't in Tekken 7. I don't think he was. So if they were sticking with Tekken 7 characters, which they obviously were, yeah, this was the best they could have done. Very similar style, obviously. It's just kind of weird to see, you know, this Wong cosplay with the beard and the gray hair and all the stuff. So it's a little odd looking, but it was an obvious choice. They couldn't have gone with anybody else, I don't think. Okay, Leon as Violet, or Li Chaolong. This is an odd choice. Like, there's nobody in Tekken that does the Mantis-like style that he's got going on, so the fighting style was kind of out. And as far as characters go, I still think they could have maybe done somebody else. Lee just doesn't seem to fit Leon very well. If I had to make the choice, I would say Leo would have been better. And I know what some of you are saying, well, isn't Leo a girl? Well, yeah, I guess, but she's pretending to be a boy. At least that's what I've been led to understand. So it would still work, I think. You know, they have the same name, similar name, Leon and Leo, you know? I think Leo would have been better. Okay. Aoi as Asuka. I don't know if I pronounced her name right. I don't know how to pronounce her name. But this actually kind of works from a fighting style standpoint. Look at that stance. It's like identical. And she's also a very defensive character, much like, yeah, see, there's the counter, which Asuka also has. So in terms, this was obviously done in terms of fighting style more than look and personality. You know, their fighting style is kind of similar. Like I said, more of a defensive character who can counter a ton of different moves in the game. So if you can learn that, it works very well. So it was actually very ideal casting when you actually think about it. All right, here we have, oh my goodness. Okay, whose idea was this? Who decided to make the Chinese monk into the Brazilian capoeira master? Like, seriously, Lei Fei as Eddie? Who thought this was a good idea? Like, apart from the obvious problem with this, who looks at a kung fu monk and says, oh yeah, Brazilian capoeira, they go together. You know, that's a type of character we want to do. There had to be somebody better. Again, since, what about Law? Law wasn't being used, again, because Jackie was Paul. Why is it Eddie? This makes no sense. This is probably the worst one so far. And not just from the obvious one. It's from, you know, every other aspect. You know, the fighting style, everything. What were they thinking? Well, seriously, what were they thinking with this one? All right, Vanessa as Master Raven. So like I said before, Raven was not in Tekken 7, so, you know, Kage had to be Lars. And when it came to the actual ninja of the game, they gave it to Vanessa. It doesn't really fit very well. She's not a ninja or anything. But, you know, it looks kind of cool. But there had to be another character. Why not? I don't know. Who was in Tekken 7 that would have worked better? Oh, what about Josie? Josie would have worked. Yeah, it should have been Josie. Okay, Brad as Claudio. Man, my boy Brad, he got done dirty. I don't think this really works for Brad. I mean, it's a cool look, but I think this is what Violet should have been, like Violet or Lee it fits the personality a bit more and the fighting style a bit more. Or actually, it should have been Steve. Steve Fox would have worked way better because Brad's a kickboxer. I know it's not kickboxing isn't the same as boxing, but come on, look at this. Look at this. He's got the swerves. You know, look at all that. I know Steve doesn't have any kick moves in his arsenal really, but it still would have worked. You know. Yeah, Claudio does not work. And Steve is not part of this collaboration. Again, a weird omission. So yeah, I think it should have been Steve. All right, go as Brian. Yeah, that works. They're kind of Brian is a crazy kind of maniac who loves to just beat people down. Go is an assassin who also loves beating people down. They also had this funny thing where they both character after they win. You know, he'll show the camera view and they'll just be beating on the guy even more after they've already won. So they have that in common. So that was pretty a very obvious choice here. Yeah, I'd say it works very well. Okay, Alen as Elisa. Oh, by the way, did you notice that Alen is the only character in this game that doesn't have a last name? I always found that kind of weird. Anyway, this really does not work. While Tekken does not have a monkey fighter, an obvious better character for this would have been Lucky Chloe. I mean, she was introduced in Tekken 7. I know she wasn't a popular choice, but this is supposed to be a Tekken 7 collab, and Lucky Chloe has a lot of moves that are kind of similar to Alen, you know, kind of jumping around, doing a bunch of kicks, doing some flips, doing some, you know, funny moves. I mean, actually, now that I look at it, it is very similar to Lucky Chloe. And also, for some reason, in this model, they have her jets coming out of her back the whole time, which looks really awkward. This has probably got to be one of the worst in this collab, just from like total misuse of a character and misunderstanding what it should have been. Yeah, not a good one to look at, just not great at all. All right, El Blaze as King. Well, like I said, they had two wrestlers they could have picked from. So, do you think they flipped a coin to see which one got King and which one got Armor King? Anyway, yeah, obviously this works. While Tekken does have a Lucha Libre character, they were not in Tekken 7, and it was a girl anyway, so it wouldn't have worked, even if it was. And I think the funniest thing about this is seeing how small King is, because King is a big guy, you know? But seeing El Blaze as King, so there's like, it's like a mini-me, mini King. It's, we should name him Prince. That's who he should be. He should be Prince. But, you know, it's a wrestler. It works for the most part. You know, it's kind of fun to see King just going around, flipping around, and all that stuff. He does that in Tekken as well. For a big guy, he's pretty agile, so this is really good. Again, funny hearing a voice come out of King who doesn't talk. So that's the funniest part. But yeah, overall, very, very good. Yeah, that's right, adjust your mask. Okay, Takahashi as Bob. Okay, it's obvious they dropped the ball on this one. Why is it not Ganryu? Like, come on. Ganryu is the sumo guy. Takahashi is a sumo wrestler. Hello. My only thought is that since Ganryu was one of the last DLC characters, maybe he wasn't introduced yet. That's the only thing I could think of, because there's no reason this should be Bob. It should be Ganryu. It's so freaking obvious. Huge fumble. And finally, we have Jin as Jin. Wait, is it Jin or John? Or is it Jin or Jean? I don't know. People, the way they pronounce some character's name. But anyway, this was ideal casting. Jin does karate, Jin does karate. Their stances and moves are very similar. They play very similar. That was an obvious thing. Like, obviously they could have. That's why I said earlier with Akira and Kazuya, even though it doesn't really fit, and Jin probably could have worked. They already had a karate character, so yeah, it was obvious. So that's all the Tekken 7 costumes. Overall, pretty good, though there were some pretty obvious and massive fumbles. But I'd say overall pretty good. There's some that were obvious, some that worked out better than expected, and some that were just plain awful. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.